Hello everyone, intuitive and astrologer Lisa Salvatore here with the forecast for the month of February. This is the astrological and energetic predictive overview and breakdown for the month of February. I'm also going to include the Leo full moon reading in this video. Leo full moon takes place on February 12th, so I will touch on it briefly as I go through the month of February with the highlights, but then I'm going to go back in the same video and give the full reading for the Leo full moon. And as always, for the members, there will be another extended video with the readings through each sign. I won't waste any time. All of my links are in the description box below. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you appreciate these insights. And so much love and gratitude to each and every single one of you that supports my channel and my work. As always, there's going to be a mixed bag of energies as we move throughout each month, each week, and even each day. I am coining the month of February Fabulous Feb. Perhaps you can tell by my color choice here that February is a month where we are going to be vibing on the love. Yes, Valentine's Day falls during this month, but that's not the reason that I'm saying this. This genuinely is a month where we are going to feel encouraged and we're being invited to really vibe on the love. We start the month off February 1st, Rabbit Rabbit. May this month bring in blessings and abundance for all. You can see here we have what we call a stellium in the sign of Pisces. We have Saturn in Pisces, we've got the moon here in Pisces on February 1st, we've got Venus and Neptune aligned at 27 degrees of Pisces and the North Node at 28 degrees of Pisces. The moon is fleeting, the moon is fast, but it does start the month off and colors the energy for the rest of the month. This Pisces energy is extremely creative, it's extremely intuitive, it has the potential to be extremely romantic and loving. It's all about the higher love, unconditional love, divine love, truth, compassion, empathy. All of that is going to feel extremely heightened as we kick off the month of February. You can find yourself very emotional, for better or worse, sensitivities increased, feeling much more heart-centered and expressive, especially emotionally expressive. This Venus-Neptune alignment is super sweet, but we do have to watch the potential not to go into this shadowy element of the Piscean energy, especially as both Venus and Neptune speak to love of many things. Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, where Neptune is unconditional love, Venus is conditional love. Both of these energies are about love. Vibe on the love. Love thyself first and foremost, love others. Forgiveness is a key word here as well. We do need to watch out for this month especially for spiritual bypassing, for putting a sparkly band-aid over very intense or very emotional situations, for hanging on to situations and relationships that are not serving us, by glossing over the truth because it might be too painful to face. This is about piercing through illusions, maintaining as grounded as we can while staying in that vibration of love and forgiveness. As the North Node is now here in Pisces, there's a strong focus on what is best for us, both collectively and personally. So there's a lot of good here as we start the month off. We do still have Mars very retrograde, and that can absolutely have us feeling more emotional, more cranky even, more combative, more irritated, more frustrated. The good news though is that Mars is currently in harmony with all of this Pisces energy. It's reminding us that when we flow into the emotion, we are able to heal. Now on February 2nd, the moon moves on, so the moon is no longer a part of this stellium. The moon is now in Aries. However, Neptune and the North Node are conjunct at 28 degrees of Pisces, and Venus here is at 28 degrees of Pisces. This just amplifies what I said about that love energy, the compassion, the empathy, the altruism, the creativity, the intuition. I highly recommend, and I've been saying this for months and I sound like a broken record, but I highly recommend keeping a dream journal. If you don't already do so, at the very least, keep a piece of paper next to your bed so that when you wake up, you can write down what's happening in that dream space. Symbolism, messages all coming through as our higher self is working tirelessly to bring forth higher guidance. This absolutely carries this magical kind of energy and quality to it. But to reiterate, we just have to watch out for spiritual bypassing, and we have to make sure that we are also anchored in reality. It's helpful that Saturn is currently in Pisces, and as a part of this Pisces pack, Saturn can help be that container for all of the flow of this watery energy. Saturn's that reality check. He puts up the boundary and reminds us that yes, while it's great to dream, we also want to make sure that we're dreaming in black and white and not only color. Reality versus fantasy. They can coexist together. Another strong reminder during this month. If you work in the arts, photography, acting, singing, dancing, painting, poetry, basically anything creative, which is, by the way, pretty much everything, and we are all creative. Fabulous energy for that. If you want to repaint your bathrooms, choose softer colors, you're going to feel really encouraged and motivated under these energies. This Neptune North Node alignment is a big deal. Let's just talk about that for a moment. We have Neptune in the North Node at 28 degrees of Pisces. And there's a lot of ground under this energy. So I'll say this in a nutshell. Expansion of consciousness, stronger focus on faith and spirituality, also a stronger focus and lean toward kindness and compassion and empathy. Historically speaking, the last time that we had this alignment of Neptune and the North Node in Pisces was in 1857, late 1857 into January of 1858. And this conjunction of Neptune and the North Node occurred at 20 degrees of Pisces. There were many things that occurred at that time, of course, but just to pick out a few that will mimic the Piscean themes, the Neptunian themes. First, it's important to remember North Node takes about 19 years roughly to come back around to the same zodiac sign. Neptune spends about 14 years in each sign. So these are not energies we will see very often. Going back to 1857 and 1858, there was a significant spiritual movement. There was a spiritual revival that swept across the United States. This revival saw widespread conversions and a renewed focus on Christian faith across the nation. This awakening at this time period brought over 1 million new converts into the American church and revived over 4 million members present before the revival. This is what led to the Great Awakening in 1858 and 1859. Strong focus on faith and religion and the church, a change-up and a shake-up, and this was happening all over. As Neptune is the god of the seas, Neptune represents the boundless water, the ocean life, marine life. Flooding is a common theme that we will see with Neptune. We've seen a lot over the last year regarding water, droughts, flooding, surges, issues with bridges. So with Neptune in conjunction with the North Node in Pisces, we can definitely see an increase in situations having to do with water, flooding, droughts in some areas, etc. To take it back to 1858, when the North Node and Neptune were aligned in Pisces, there was a New Zealand disaster, an Upper Hutt Valley flood that happened in January of 1858. After 5 days of incessant rain, the Hutt River's sedate flow had become a nightmare of bouncing boulders and whole trees, tumultuous waters that were higher than a house. At least 14 people passed away. That included children. There was a loss of livestock. It happened fairly quickly. And throughout that year, there was a lot more flooding. April through June of 1858 was abnormally active for severe weather. There was a very abnormally high rainfall amounts that ranged from Missouri to Virginia to Pennsylvania and Maryland. 18 plus inches of rainfall fell in certain parts of Indiana from April through May. There was historical flooding in May through June over the state of Wabash in Lafayette, seeing some of the highest levels on record, even compared to today. 33 plus inches of rainfall was recorded between April and July in east central Indiana. The Wabash River in downtown Lafayette reached 28 inches on June 11, 1858. And then there were other bouts of flooding in that area late April through May and reaching a peak in the first half of June. So the North Node and Neptune were still at this point within about 5 or 6 degrees of each other. We have to consider when we're dealing with the North Node, when we're dealing with the nodes of the moon, we're dealing with what we call destiny points. This is where eclipses occur. And when we're dealing with these kind of energies, it's not just around the exact degrees of the alignments that are occurring with the astrology, especially when we're activated with the nodes. Think of it like a 6-month activation period. So 1858, when the North Node and Neptune were aligned in Pisces, was very big, historically speaking, when it came to flooding. So as I was looking back at the flooding of 1858, I was then guided to look to 1958. In 1958, we had Neptune aligned with the North Node again, but this time it was in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is also a water sign. Neptune is not in its sign of exaltation in Scorpio, but still, Neptune is water, the god of the seas, boundless water, boundless emotion. Scorpio is an emotional and intense water sign. We also have to take into account that at the time of this exact alignment of the North Node and Neptune at 4 degrees of Scorpio, we have Jupiter not far behind at 1 degree of Scorpio. And because the nodes move retrograde naturally, that North Node is moving back toward Jupiter. So this is absolutely an expansion, an increase of the water. That's what Jupiter does. Jupiter is the great benefic, yes, but Jupiter is also the planet of expansion and exacerbation and exaggeration, for better or worse. So that absolutely contributed to this alignment at this time. Going back to 1958, there was a series of storms from January through February that brought very large amounts of precipitation, unusually large amounts of precipitation to Northern California. This produced damaging floods, really strong in the lower Sacramento Valley, where losses totaled around 12 million. This was back in 1958. With this alignment of the North Node in Neptune and Scorpio, we have Uranus and Leo squaring this alignment. Disruption, unexpected occurrences with the weather. Then there was also major floods because of that large area that was affected that occurred on many of the smaller streams in Central and South Texas, which followed really heavy rains in general for Texas in late February. Sadly, some lives were lost and property damage exceeded 1 million. When we move into April of 1958, there were damaging floods, April 1st through 7th more specifically, that followed one of the wettest winters that California history has ever seen. In this instance, there were swollen streams that overflowed their banks throughout the central part of the state, and discharge peaks on many streams exceeded those of the floods of December 1955. So they had barely recovered from the floods of 1955, and then in 1958 there was a major increase. The San Francisco Bay Area was seriously affected. The total flood damage there was estimated to be around 23 million. Again, this is in 1958, at the time of the North Node aligned with Neptune again, but this time it was in Scorpio. There were massive storms and floods in Louisiana, and more. I could go on, but I will just leave that with you there. And now I'm not trying to predict that we're going to see a massive increase in floods and storm surges, but in a way, I am predicting that. Looking back at history, we know history tends to mimic itself. Having said that, obviously we cannot change or control the weather, but what we can do, especially if you live near the coast, if you live near water, even a creek, anything that can overflow and cause damage, look into it now. Lock it up, tighten it up, check your flood insurance. Check all of your insurance, make sure everything is in place if just in case, God forbid, you were to experience flooding or water damage, you're protected. Double check your windows. Anything that can be very severely damaged by water, just tighten it up. That's all that we can really do. Just a little reminder that the nodes of the moon, otherwise known as the points of fate or the points of destiny, as these are the points where the eclipses occur. Side note, I have a separate reading for the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, and the 18-month time span that this will occur. But the nodes switched into Pisces and Virgo back on January 11th. So the North Node is currently in Pisces, and this is really intensifying our desire, the desire to dream, to imagine, to fantasize, and create. Intuition, creativity, love, and compassion are increased and enhanced. The South Node in Virgo directly opposite, because it's a package deal. The South Node in Virgo is encouraging us to overhaul our relationship collectively and personally, overhauling our relationship with perfectionism, and the need to have all of the answers is going to be pronounced and promoted. We're also going to feel nudged to be less critical and judgmental of both ourselves and others. But there's also a strong reminder that we must remain focused and realistic. That is the energy, that is the opposition of Pisces Virgo. The balance. Embracing faith and surrender and trust more, and decreasing that tendency to always go to the negative or to be pessimistic, or only looking at why it wouldn't work instead of how could it possibly work. But once again, we must watch for that spiritual bypassing factor, balance. And I talk a lot more about this in the reading of the nodal shift. Okay, let's move to February 4th. Venus, the planet of connection, the arts, finances, value. She's what we love, she's what we value. She's what we have. She's also what we would like to have. She's about our feminine rights. She's the divine feminine Venus. She's about justice. She's about equality. Venus enters the sign of Aries. Now, Venus is in what we call her pre-retrograde shadow zone because we're going to have a Venus retrograde occurring officially beginning on March 1st. But Venus is in what we call the pre-shadow phase. So she is getting ready for her every year and a half metamorphosis. In Aries, Venus is what we consider to be in her exile. It's not her most comfortable space. It doesn't mean she's bad here. It just means it's a very different flavor and energy than we start the month off with, because Venus in Pisces is what we call exalted. Venus loves to be in Pisces. She does very well here. And now she moves into Aries and she's in that pre-retrograde shadow. She'll be in Aries until March 27th, and then she will actually retrograde back into Pisces. So it's really important to pay attention to the themes that are going on in your reality right now and in the reality of the collective in general, especially when it comes to the moral high ground, right from wrong, feminine rights, justice and equality, also the financial systems. And then personally speaking, you're going to want to look to the part of your birth chart that contains Aries. This is just a sample chart from astro.com. And you can see here that I put the heart up here around Aries. And then there's a table underneath that will actually tell you the placements. So you're definitely going to want to pull up your birth chart, which you can do for free on astro.com and also on my website, linked in the description box below. Will take you directly there. But this is significant because you'll want to pay attention to the area of your chart and of your life where this retrograde will be occurring. But even further than that, you're just going to want to pay attention to what is coming up for you emotionally, what is coming up for you regarding your value, your place in the world, your rights, the way you take care of yourself, physically and financially, emotionally, all of it. Where can you be more kind to yourself? Where can you extend more grace, especially in your relationships? And I'll have a separate reading out on Venus retrograde shortly, so I won't go too much into that. This is just meant to be a little overview. Now, February 4th, same day, Jupiter stations direct, our gas giant social planet, stations direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. On the positive side, opportunities could start to redirect and start to come to fruition. Jupiter always wants to gift us more, and in Gemini, it's a lot more. And here's where it gets a little sticky. Jupiter in Gemini is all about the information, and it can be information overload. Jupiter is not in its best place in Gemini. Jupiter favors Sagittarius, which is the opposite sign of Gemini. So again, it's not that the energy is bad here, it's just different. And Jupiter in Gemini is a lot, it's big. It's a lot of mental overload, mental stimuli, mental capacities being stretched. There's a lot of information coming at us. So as Jupiter stations, I would suspect the first 2 weeks of February that the headlines are going to be like just a lot, especially when it comes to the media, social media, freedom of speech. What can we say? What can't we say? What's being censored? Who's being censored? Who's being canceled? There's going to be a lot of this as Jupiter stations. It'll probably start right as the month kicks off. So word of advice, while opportunities can find their way back to you, especially if you have strong Gemini placements, just make sure, like everything with Gemini, you pull back and you focus and be very discerning about what deserves your attention and what can afford to be kept to the side for now. Just a little word of advice. February 6th and 7th, we have this exact alignment of Saturn and Nessus, asteroid Nessus. And for those that might want to pop Nessus in your chart on astro.com, it's asteroid number 7066. But this energy, Saturn conjunct Nessus, Nessus will show where we could have the potential to be repeating some form, some cycle of abuse. And abuse is a very subjective word. It can be emotional abuse, it can be physical abuse, it can be financial abuse. It's very, very layered, and it's going to be very different and show up very differently in everyone's birth chart. For some, it will not really feature prominently, where for others it will. I bring this up because Saturn is going to be exactly aligned with Nessus February 6th through the 7th. This all goes back to relationships. This all goes back to connection. This all goes back to love. This goes back to humanness. Where might we be deceiving ourselves and or gaslighting ourselves into believing something that simply isn't true, but we might want it to be true? Who might be doing this to us? Where might we be a victim of this? Or where might we be the actual one who is victimizing someone or something, either intentionally or unintentionally? A repetitive situation could come up in a relationship dynamic. You must trust your intuition. You must go into the Pisces energy, drop in, tune in, connect to self. Be honest with yourself. Because inside, we always have the answers. It's when we keep going outside where we mess ourselves up or we delude ourselves. Back in my 2025 overview, I talked about how the key words for 2025 are discernment and intuition. This reinforces that. Protect your energy where you need to, and take the necessary time to go inward, especially these first few weeks of the month, and be very discerning about whom you're choosing to listen to, and what information you're choosing to absorb, and if it's worth your energy. On February 12th, we have a big full moon in Leo. It's in a square to Uranus. It is a powerful full moon. It's bold, it's big, it's heart-centered, and of course, it's also slightly contentious, but it is creative. And after I finish going through this overview, I'll come back and finish the full reading for this. February 14th, Mercury, the planet of communication and information, enters the watery sign of Pisces, joining the Pisces posse. And then on the 18th, the Sun enters Pisces. Happy birthday to all of our Pisces souls. If you've wanted to try automatic writing or channeled writings, this is fantastic energy as Mercury and the Sun enter Pisces to work on that. And again, I will emphasize the dream space. Colorful dreams, keep that dream journal handy. February 23rd, Mars will station direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. This has been a journey and it is not over yet just because Mars is stationing direct. We will feel the energy of this all month long as Mars is getting ready to station and Mars is really slow, pulling a hyper focus onto what and where we've been feeling abrasive or emotionally inflamed, where we need to take action or advocate for ourselves differently. Relationship dynamics are getting sorted, for better or worse. It's important to always look back so that we can move forward. Mars entered Cancer back in September of 2024. September 4th of 2024, Mars entered the sign of Cancer. Then on November 3rd, Mars entered the sign of Leo. So we got a little bit of an emotional break and a surge of energy. But then on December 6th, Mars stationed retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo. So Mars was not able to trek too far throughout fiery Leo. Then Mars re-entered Cancer on January 3rd, where he spent the remainder or is spending the remainder of the retrograde cycle. So it's worth just paying attention and reflecting back to what was going on in your reality, if anything pops up for you, noting how you've been feeling. So yes, Mars will station direct on February 23rd. Definitely pay attention to the part of your chart that contains Cancer. I mentioned this in the 2025 forecast, but come June, Jupiter enters Cancer. And that is a beautiful energy. It's probably one of the more positive transits of 2025. So think about what might have been feeling particularly challenging for you when it comes to the Mars retrograde and the Cancerian energy, the themes around the sign of Cancer, such as family, our emotions, our foundation, our home, any motherly issues, issues with children, that all falls under family. Think about what it might have felt particularly tender for you emotionally or extremely frustrating, what might have set you back, and just set your energy towards June when Jupiter enters Cancer, because Jupiter will then bless this part of your chart. So it's like we're getting a leg up here. Jupiter, the spiritual godfather, wants to come in and gift us for our sorrows, for our troubles, let's just say. So let's hang on to that hope. Mars will still remain in Cancer until April 18th. Mars is pretty cranky in the sign of Cancer, so yes, he'll be direct, but he's still a little bit cranky. He's still kind of dealing with some stuff, but we'll really start to feel like things are picking up once Mars enters Leo, and that'll be on April 18th. And then we'll really start to feel the tempo pick up and increase when Mars clears his post-retrograde shadow on May 2nd. And that will be when Mars gets back to 6 degrees and 10 minutes of Leo, which was where he stationed retrograde back in December. Side note, I had to add this in because it's a little bit of reprieve. All planets will be direct from February 24th through March 1st. And then again from April 12th through May 4th. So you might want to note these times. No, you will want to note these times because we too can really genuinely feel like we are moving forward during these times and that our own energy picks up and increases and we have the motivations and the desires to get things out into the universe, get things out of us, launch things, work on new projects, new ideas. It's divinely orchestrated this way anyway, so just pay closer attention to it, but just note because these are going to be good times that you might want to work with. February 27th, we've got Saturn in a semi-sextile with Chiron, both at 20 degrees, Saturn at 20 degrees of Pisces, and Chiron at 20 of Aries. Just a little reminder that for everything that's been coming up over the last, I would say, 3 or 4 months, it's a reminder that what is hurtful can also be medicinal. And this is where you could receive an apology, for example, or words of encouragement from an unexpected or unlikely source. A powerful teacher or guru or mentor could come into your life, having you see the world differently, wanting to expand some way, somehow, moving more into your own spirituality, your own divinity, trusting your own intuition, realizing that you have the power all along to make the changes that are needed for your growth and for your healing. And then on February 27th, we've got a really nice new moon in Pisces, and I will come back with a whole separate reading for that. But I like this new moon in Pisces that closes out the month. That was just a quick overview for February. If you appreciate this and would like deeper insights, please know that on my subscription to my newsletter, my Substack, which is linked in the description box below, I go live every Sunday and I give the weekly forecast, the weekly astrological and predictive forecast for the upcoming week. There's spiritual chit chat there. There's a lot more insights there week to week. A lot more detailed insights, I should say. Now let's talk about the Leo full moon. A lot of truths are going to be illuminated around this full moon. It is a big full moon. And we have a lot of big astrology surrounding it. One major part being Jupiter stationing direct on February 4th, right before this full moon, and Venus being in her pre-retrograde shadow zone. Truths. Full moons are always the point of the lunar cycle dedicated to endings and culminations and releases. Things come to light that have been hidden or that have been dormant. We have realizations, our intuition is heightened, our awareness is heightened, the energy increases. Leo is a fire sign ruled by the sun. This is a full moon in Leo. So that which has been hidden will likely come to light. New information. Let's get to the chart. The Leo full moon takes place February 12th at 8:54 a.m. Eastern Time. I have this set for my location, but you can obviously set this for your location. It takes place at 24 degrees and 6 minutes of Leo. The sun is directly opposite at 24 degrees and 6 minutes of Aquarius. This is how we have our full moon. It's the opposition, it's the polarization, it's the light and the dark, the yin and the yang, the conscious and the unconscious. It's all of the opposites coming together. This can pull up a lot. It can pull up a lot of tension. It can also pull up a lot of epiphanies and a lot of positive growth and change. There's a strong energy of cord cutting around this full moon. The whole theme of 2025 is about cord cutting. It's about renewal. It's about shedding the old and making way for the new. This full moon takes place in the third decan of Leo, or the final third of the sign of Leo, which gives it a more Aries flavor, a more Mars type of energy, Martian energy. It's very active and it's very reactive. I hesitate to say fiery because of everything that's been going on, sadly, across the world with fires, but it is a very fiery energy, a very fiery lunation, both in the way of literal fire and then, feisty, ferocious, fighting. Strong energy of saying goodbye to the past, saying goodbye to what was, and following our heart to greater truths and authenticity. We definitely must watch out for our own pride and ego getting in the way, because that can absolutely block us out as we're trying to all assert ourselves in certain situations. There's a very strong energy here about shining your light. Think of the song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine," and equally being able to be the lighthouse for others when they are in the dark. Leo's all about love. Leo rules the heart. Lead with love. Practice gratitude. Think about how you can be the lighthouse for somebody in their storm, because at some point you're going to need that lighthouse. The whole month is filled with very strong creative energy, but it's really ramped up around this Leo full moon. Leo's a very creative sign, very expressive. We've got a lot of Pisces energy right now. Pisces is extremely creative, extremely colorful. There could be a lot going on around film and photography at this full moon. Strong energy here of drama and theater and literal dramatics, so you got to watch out for that. But also a strong emphasis on love. Like I said about February, vibe on the love. As always, we have a mixed bag of energies here. So let's start with the strongest one, which is that we've got Uranus here at 23 degrees of Taurus, and we've got the sun at 24 of Aquarius. So Uranus squares the sun, and then also squares the moon, which is a T-square. A T-square of the luminaries with Uranus. Definite increase in seismic activity. You could feel this physically in your body as you release outdated and stored emotions that are bringing you more into your heart. Because again, emotions are very high right now. You may need to have a really good cry, get out excess energy. Exercise is helpful. Meditation is very helpful. Grounding. If you have trouble sleeping, I highly suggest a grounding pad for your bed. A grounding sheet, excuse me. You can find relatively inexpensive ones and they work really well. I actually got mine on Amazon. If you've been experiencing ringing of the ears and headaches, just know that that's a part of the energy right now. It's a part of the awakening process. Think of it like your higher self coming through to your lower self to give you information. Strong awakening energy. Downloads galore. This is the positive side of Uranus. The higher mind is activated. And oftentimes, feelings of strife or crisis can absolutely precipitate those awakenings that bring you to the higher truth. But not without disruption, as Uranus is squaring off with both the sun and the moon. So just watch out as you move around your everyday. Just be a little bit more mindful, as accidents are more likely. Doesn't mean they will occur, just that the energy is more electric and frenetic. Collectively speaking, we'll probably hear and or see about some financial disruptions. You might have something come up in your own world, in your own reality. There will likely be more travel disruption, electronic glitches. It will definitely feel a little bit Mercury retrograde-ish when it comes to technology and travel right now around this full moon, even though Mercury is not retrograde or even in shadow at this point. It just might feel like that at this point. The full moon is in opposition with Mercury in Aries. It's important to not just think about what soothes us and what nurtures us. It's important to actually implement those helpful tools. To go back to Uranus for a moment, I just want to mention, because Uranus is now direct as of January 30th, Uranus is going to be at this 23rd degree of Taurus all the way until March. So if you are fixed, meaning you have strong Taurus, especially Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, and even more so if any of your points or placements fall between 21 and 25 degrees of any of these signs, more specifically that 23rd degree, you will likely be really feeling this Uranian energy, this shaky kind of an energy, this restlessness, this desire to break free or to start fresh, start over, start new. It's going to be really activated around this full moon. And it's a very reactive full moon, so just watch that. Just try not to go too hasty and remember the Leo message of leading with love. On the positive side, again, the downloads that you could be receiving, even when disruptive, are going to be very powerful. The full moon is in an exact trine to Eris over here. Eris is known as the goddess of discord and strife, but the goal with Eris is to make sure that everybody is heard, everybody is valued, everybody has a voice. It's about fairness and justice and equality. And it's in a trine to the full moon. That's helpful. Could we say perhaps some peaceful protesting around this full moon? Power to the people. Pluto's in Aquarius. All over the world right now, the people are standing up, banding together. Germany, Italy, all over. There's this pushback kind of an energy. That's going to continue. We'll probably see a lot more of this or hear more about this around the time of this full moon. Mars is here, very retrograde, and Mars will station direct not too long after this full moon. Mars is also what we call out of bounds. So Mars is hot, Mars is feisty, and Mars is squaring Eris. It's not super tight, but it's there. So let's just say, because this is going to feel contentious and reactive, and it just pulls back to the message of being more conscious and aware of your own actions and your own participations in relationships and events. The moon is also conjunct fixed star Subra, which is in the right knee of Leo, the lion, in the constellation of Leo. And I'll be honest, of all the fixed stars, of all the constellations, other than Regulus, the Leo constellation is probably the one that I'm the least familiar with or the least seasoned with. But my take on this fixed star, or in the Leo constellation in general, is it's all about, being authentic to ourselves, being true to ourselves, but watching out for pride and egoism. Watch out for the dramatics, especially the unnecessary dramatics. Shine our light, but let others shine as well. Clap for others when they win. And move forward where you need to, where you're not living in your truth, where you might not be following your heart or leading with courage. Leo reminds us to step into our light and that our truth and our heart is not always going to align with everybody else's. But that's where the courage comes in. And that's what brings you into that higher vibration of authenticity. Just a reminder to stay in good conscience. Even if you do something that upsets a situation or a person, if you can lay your head down at night on your pillow knowing that you did the best that you can do and that you're living in your truth and that you're not intentionally hurting anybody, then you're doing good. Remember, fixed stars are said to be the guardians of the night sky. So think about it like they are the guardians of our soul, especially when they activate something close in our own birth chart. And right now, because this is the birth chart of the Leo full moon, Subra is very active. So look at this as a protective energy around this full moon. Allow yourself to go inward and be self-reflective. Be truly honest with yourself. So there's an overview of the full moon in Leo. If you work with gemstones, sunstone is a really great stone for Leo energy. It's about empowerment and confidence. And I also recommend garnet and ruby. Ruby for love and compassion, and garnet for grounding and love. But you really can work with any gemstones. Those are just the 3 that I'm aligning with right now for the Leo full moon. But any Leo colors are going to work really well with this full moon. Think red, orange, yellow, gold, the bold, fiery colors. Fuchsia, magenta. I hope that this was helpful. Be sure to check your own chart to where 24 degrees of Leo falls so you can see where this full moon will illuminate or what this full moon will illuminate for you. I have a free downloadable guide through the houses of the birth chart if you'd like to follow along with that, and some other helpful content under the courses tab on my website, lisasalvatore.com. For those that don't know about my membership options and would like to know about it, just stay tuned and take a quick listen. Much love and gratitude, and I'll be back soon. Hello, everyone. Warm wishes for a happy and healthy 2025. I am so excited to be here with all of you, all of my beautiful subscribers, and to continue to put out supportive content. I will continue to give you astrological and intuitive updates. My channel will not be changing. I will be doing new moon and full moon readings along with some insights through the signs, monthly astrological and energetic updates, astrology updates overall, and some more how-to videos, readings on current events, etc. None of that will change. That will all still be here on my channel, but I am excited to roll out a few new options for 2025. Here on YouTube, I now have a membership. That membership is $7.99 a month. You do not have to join the membership, but you can if you want to. And what that membership encompasses is obviously all of the general free content that is out there and will continue to be out there, but with more exclusive content. So every Sunday, I go live and I give the astrological and energetic forecast for the upcoming week. And we have some spiritual chit chat there. There's a live chat. Now that is going to be sent to you with the YouTube membership by recording. If you wanted to be a part of the live stream, I have another subscription, which is based on Substack, which is where I have my newsletter and where I am the most interactive. And that will also be linked in the description box below if you're interested in that. But the Substack membership is $10 a month, okay, to be transparent, or $100 per year. And every Sunday, I do go live and I give the astrological and energetic update and forecast. And it's, like I said, it's interactive and I answer questions. And then monthly, I do a live Zoom where I go into more details for each month, readings through the signs. And in those monthly lives, there's also the opportunity to be read, both astrologically and psychically, combination of the two. That is with my Substack subscription. That is with my newsletter subscription, to be clear. The YouTube subscription, the one that is $7.99 a month, you will get the recordings of everything that I do on my Substack newsletter. To join the YouTube subscription, all you have to do is go right to my homepage and just click join. And once again, thank you to all of my amazing subscribers. I'm so thankful and grateful to each and every one of you. I'm also grateful that I get to provide this content, and I really hope that it supports you on your spiritual journey.